Welcome to Language Learning Made Easy. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to read your textbook efficiently and remember it for a long time. I'm going to share a few scientific techniques that will help us read our textbooks in the right way, grasp information, and retain it for a longer period of time. So let's get started. Number one, you should know your objective. When you know your objective, then it is absolutely clear what are you going to get out of the textbook. Suppose you're reading a particular chapter from a textbook, you should know whether you are going to take up MCQs after this, or you're going to take up short or long answer type question, fill in the blanks, or an analysis question. Your reading will depend particularly on this goal that you're going to set in your mind before reading the chapter. Second strategy to reading a textbook effectively is to prime your brain. When your mind is already aware of what it is going to read, when your brain is already functioning in a certain way, when it is already aware of what is going to come next, then it will function better, then it will perform better, right? Let's take an example. You go to the market area and you have plans to buy a book. How will you choose a book for yourself? When the theme suits you, or when something that you're fond of reading comes across, how will you be able to decide whether a certain book is right for you or not? Suppose I take this book, right? How will I choose this book for myself? I will not just look at the cover, but I will also turn it around to look at the blurb. This blurb will give me a peek inside the book. This blurb is like a primer for me. It's like a pre-information that has been given by the author at the back of the cover to let me know what this book is going to be all about. Similarly, if I have to decide to watch a movie and which movie should I go for will be dependent on what I watch in the trailer. If the trailer suits my requirements, if the trailer interests me, or if it piques my curiosity, then only will I be interested in going for that particular movie. So when you're going to read a particular chapter, you must be able to know what is it that your brain is going to be exposed to. So watching a little, a movie or a film on it, or maybe reading an article on it on the internet is going to help you a great deal in reading and retaining information effectively. Third strategy, skimming information. Now that you're familiar with the book, now that you've purchased it for yourself, you have to start reading it. And when you read it, you're just trying to look at the larger picture. By and large, what is the book talking about? And how will you get to know about it? I will look at the contents, I will look at the titles, I will look at the points that are there in bold, I will try to look at the conclusion, and by and large, I will be able to create a picture of the book in my mind. This is called skimming information, and it is very important for you to understand how the text is going to develop over the period of time in the text. Number 4, background relevance. That means it's not like you are reading something for the first time, so you don't have any information about it as such. There are possibilities that when you start reading something, you are able to relate it with what you already know, right? So just trigger your existing knowledge. Just try and understand and draw a correlation with what you already know. Okay, this is like triggering your background information and trying to relate it with what you already know. So for example, you meet somebody and they talk about certain habits, and you will be like, okay, this habit is very much like my cousin's, okay, or this particular person behaves in the same manner my cousin does, or he has the same set of habits that I have. Moving on to the fifth strategy for reading a textbook effectively, that is to engage your senses. Until and unless you're engaging all your senses, you are putting too much pressure on your brain to retain and grasp information. Let's try and understand it with the help of an example. Suppose there are two teachers who are going to take up the same topic and they're going to teach it through different teaching methodologies. Which group is going to perform better? You have to answer that. Teacher A takes up lecture method. She completely describes everything that is happening in the text and she takes it up in the longest way possible to explain it to her children. Teacher B, on the other hand, wants to take up this particular topic in an activity-oriented manner. So she will ask some students to prepare a mind map, the others to prepare a Freire diagram, and she may ask the other children to prepare a blurb, and the remaining may do an analysis of the text. What is it that she has done? And which set of students is going to remember the content for a longer period of time? Obviously, the latter ones, right? Why? Because she has engaged their senses. So, when you sit back to read, you have to ensure that you're engaging your sight and sound effectively. For example, you can draw collages, you can make a mind map, you can draw charts, or you can maybe create a Venn diagram to understand the chapter better. If you have to engage your sound better, then what all can you do? You can read out the story to yourself, or maybe after reading the story, you can narrate it to others, or you can teach the same thing to the other student of your class, or to your colleagues, or to your peers. You can also underline or highlight important points, write about character sketches, write about a certain point that comes to your mind while you're reading, or maybe take short notes. This is how all your senses are going to be engaged, and you're going to definitely remember what you are reading and not just forget it in a jiffy. Next up is critical reading of the text. Once you're done with the superficial understanding of the text, once you're done with the cursory reading of the text, it's time for you to dive into the text and appreciate it critically. And by critical reading, I mean you are not just understanding the literal meaning of a particular text, but you're also trying to understand what's written in between the lines. What is it that the author's intention is? What is it that he wants to convey through these lines? What is it that the vocabulary used wants to convey to you? What is it that the title wants to say? How is it that the title is related with the text, or how appropriately or suitably it has been used? Last strategy is to repeat what you've read. Once you're going to repeat it to yourself, once you're going to read it again after reading it, then it's going to remain indelibly imprinted in your mind. And if you really want it to remain in your heads, then you really need to read it and repeat the content that you have read. I hope all these strategies are going to effect a positive change in the way you read, and you're definitely going to become good readers. Happy reading. Bye bye.